something I haven't done this in a couple of years, but when my kids were in high school, my son was in band, and the marching band in particular, I had to learn so much about it. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, y'all come up with a theme and all the songs like tell a story. And when you're at a football game, no one knows that. I was like, what if we make images that relate to your story?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Focus Stack podcast. I'm going to just run through the usual stuff here. If you've just discovered the show or you've been listening but you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and check it out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe on all of those platforms, and it'll let you know when new episodes come out. Also, if you're on Instagram and you want to keep up with the show, please subscribe to @FocusStack Podcasts on Instagram. And I'm starting to talk more about this. I did start a Patreon for the show, and then I kind of let it sit for a little while, didn't really tell anybody. But there is a Patreon if you'd like to become a Focus friend for $3 a month. Just helps offset the cost of the streaming services. So with that, one more thing, almost forgot. If you're a photographer and you'd like to be a guest on a future show, there is a link in the description on all of those platforms where you can sign up to be a guest. I'll take a look at your portfolio and then be in touch with you about when we can record an episode in the future. So with all of that out of the way, I want to talk to you about our guest today. It's Jennifer Robison. She's coming to us from Louisiana. Jennifer's work examines the intersection of perception and science and human experience using photography to explore how viewers construct meaning in the world. So with that, let's welcome Jennifer to the show. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi.
How's Louisiana?
It's stormy today, but it's Louisiana. You gotta love a little rain.
Yeah. Is it humid?
Yeah, 100%.
Always?
Always.
So, Jennifer, I need to ask, is there anything that you don't know how to do? Your website has fine artwork, it has commercial work, it has your work as an educator. Just, wow.
Thanks.
So, do you mind kind of talking to us about how you became a photographer and how you've become so multidisciplinary?
Sure. When I was in middle school, my mom gave me a Minolta film camera, and I started making photographs at a pretty young age. Through college, I wasn't really sure. It just what all I thought of as a photographer was like a wedding photographer, what I'd experienced, getting your portrait made at school. And I felt like art was my calling. And going to college, I started in graphic design. And I think I'm just a curious person by nature. My path was never just like, go to school, graduate, get a job. I did lots of things. I've had lots of different jobs. Through photography, it's such a cool medium. It's afforded me the ability to have experiences I would have never had otherwise. So I don't know. I did commercial photographer about 20 years, and someone asked me if I wanted to teach photography at a community college, and I was like, heck yeah, I'll try anything, and immediately fell in love with that. So I've been an educator for 9 years now.
Isn't teaching fun?
I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch someone that's never seen the magic part of photography learn how to control it and how excited they get.
Yeah, it is exactly like teaching magic. No, that's great. So where would you like me to start in your portfolio? Is there anywhere you'd like to look at first to talk to us about it?
Yeah, my little intro, it sounds so like higher ed fine art, but really it's just the same as being a commercial photographer. How do people interact with each other? So maybe let's start with the order of things from the series, the image that we're looking at right now. you just pop in that gallery, you can get a better idea of the series as a whole. It's narrative through the perspective of this one figure, and the figures in like organic environments. And it is really fun to think about making work that was not for sale when I was making this work, just being commercial for so long. You always have to think about the client's needs or, the purpose of the image. And when I started the series, it was really inspired by another artist that's an assemblage artist named Rick Bruner. I photographed his work for him, and I was in a studio making all these images, and I saw some arrows, a bow and arrow, and I was like, these are so cool. My commercial brain is like, you should sell these. And he said, this is the one thing that I'll never sell. I have to have something for myself. And so that was sort of the idea as I started making this work. It wasn't about trying to sell something, or it was just like, what do I want to make for me? So the figure is my daughter.
Okay.
And it was a really neat experience. While I was making the series, she was going through her last couple of years of veterinary school.
Mm-hmm.
So she would, like this image here where she has all the butterflies glued to her body. That was, I don't know, maybe like 5 hours of her studying for a veterinary exam laying on the floor.
So are those real butterflies?
Yes. So this piece is really interesting. It draws a lot of people in. It's one of the first images that I made that I was like, okay, I feel like I've gotten to the thing. There's a lot of iterations before this, but she's covered in blue morpho butterfly wings for the actual print. And then the print is to human scale, and there's actual preserved butterflies pinned into the print. So when you walk past the print, there's a shift and a color change that happens.
Are we looking at the print here?
So the image on the left is a photograph of the print on the wall with the butterflies pinned. And so the image on the right is just stepping a little bit to the left.
Okay.
The butterfly that's on her shoulder that looks very brilliant blue, the cyan blue, now looks purple.
So this butterfly is actually like over here or right here, right?
Yeah, it's like right near her neck is shoulder.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a real butterfly.
Yeah.
And they shift and change, right? Iridescent. So it's colorless. So when people stand in front of it and I talk to them about the work, it's, what color is this butterfly? And I'll get a range of answers, but it's usually in something around blue.
When you say it's colorless, just because it's iridescent and it reflects so many other colors, it's like not a fixed color?
It's structural color. So the jewel beetles that I photograph, if you want to go to the image where her back's covered in green. So these are jewel beetle wings. All insects have 4 wings. Beetles have hard elytra wings that open like car doors, and then they have these big fluffy wings that fold out. And in this image, she's covered in the elytra, the hard wings. And these are thin film color, so structural color again, but it's more like a soap bubble where the light is going through layers instead of going through actual like sculptural structures.
Where did you become interested in working with the insects?
Well, just coming up with like, what is my central focus? Like, what is the one thing that's going to tie all the images together? The core of something that would represent me for things that I've been through. And when my kids were really little, I had thyroid cancer, and the symbol for your thyroid is a butterfly. And so they use the blue morpho butterfly as the like symbol for thyroid cancer. And your thyroid controls all the major functions in your body. So when I no longer had one, I just went through so many like visible physical changes and ideas that I had, like how I form thoughts completely changed. Everything about me completely changed. And so it made me really think like, yeah, this butterfly thing is so connected to not just what I went through, but what a lot of people go through in their lives. Even, just growing up, you go through changes. And so the central thing that got me started was butterfly. And so I got really interested in like, how am I going to like make this work or get the thing across? And that's where I started just photographing butterflies, and I would get more and more and more macro, and that led to micro, and that micro led to scanning electron microscope imaging. So I wanted to see deeper and deeper and deeper. And the more I looked, the more I saw. And so that's really what got me interested in the structural color aspect of it. And my daughter, while she was in vet school, she took an entomology class at LSU. And the professor was trying to explain structural color and like what he did for research. And she was like, my mom does that for her art.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was sort of my entry into learning a lot more about entomology. And the more I learned about that, the more I could draw those relationships between like how insects communicate and how they live and how it relates to just humanity in general.
Oh, that's really interesting. So the not
Do you
having
want
a
to
thyroid.
show some of the insect images, the structural color, if you go to
Sure.
research?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I just wanted to kind of go back a second.
Sure.
So the removing of the thyroid, do you feel that changed the way that you think and that influenced your art?
It certainly influenced what just me, my personality completely shifted and changed over time. It's not like overnight you change.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone's thyroid does something, affects them in a different way. So some people don't even know they have like a thyroid issue. So when it's gone, it's a little more noticeable. And one of my particular weird things with mine is controlling my body temperature. I have a really difficult time like regulating it at all. So like it could be hot outside and I'll freeze.
Oh,
it's very odd.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry, where did you want me to go again?
If I'm talking about structural color and bugs, and it might be easier to visualize, like what I'm talking about, the SEM sometimes is strange to people. They're like, I don't understand what SEM is.
Yeah. You said that was in the research area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this might help with, seeing like some of the images that I was making that was driving the figurative work. So I was making these at the same time.
Okay.
The purple wing on the gold, when you image something in the scanning electron microscope, you coat it in a precious metal. So this was a blue morpho wing that was coated in gold. So it made it purple. I thought that was so cool.
So you have to put a coating of, is it like a powder or is it like?
Yeah, it's nanometer. Like I'd heard nanometer before, like we use that word or hear that word. And it was super cool to have something visible that was in relationship to that word, where you're laying nanometers of substance over the organic material. And then when you put the wing inside the microscope, it heats up, and the more magnified you are, it starts moving the scales on the butterfly wing around. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. So it scans, and you can actually see, like, if when I first started learning, I'm like, why do I have these weird lines? And it's just because the little scales would move around a little bit as it was scanning.
Like, is this a good image to look at? It's kind of a reference to that.
So yeah, this is the same type of butterfly, but this is a confocal laser microscope where it scans, and it was super cool just learning different ways of image making. I just found it really fascinating. And at the time I'm of making these images, I'm in the engineering building. And I didn't think it was super weird, but the people around me were like, what are you doing? Like, we're in here studying the chemistry and like what's in dirt. And I'm like, I'm looking at butterflies because they're just so fascinating.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun to see like how I connected to that world in photography. And I'm teaching class at the same time, so I would go back and explain to my students. I'm like, y'all are learning physics and this applies to 3D modeling and just making all those little connections.
Yeah, these are really interesting images. So is this like when the scales move, like then they kind of get out of the pattern, or is that just from
so this one's
how they
different.
are?
The scales move in the scanning electron microscope.
Oh, okay.
So those are the black and white images primarily.
Okay.
And
Like this here.
So something really cool. This is the blue morpho. And if you go forward, this is a red glasswing. So the color red is like this lacy structure. And I believe I also have one of the blue morpho, and it's more uniform. It looks more like a tree structure.
That's really interesting.
So those holes are like, just to give you like a scale perspective, those holes are about 70 nanometers. So you're like the circumference of your hair, like your hair is about 70 nanometers in distance.
Oh, wow.
So that's about what that hole is.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's really cool that you had access to learn how to use all these different tools for science to make art.
Yeah. It was really, really, really cool.
Is this
really
a beetle?
Beetle. I know a couple of the beetles. I helped the grad students that were in the program come up with like, what's a good system for like managing all these files and color correcting, and what's okay to do and what's not okay. Like, how do you make these consistent and accurate? One of my favorite like interactions while I was there is a student was studying pupae. So like the little larvae of butterflies, and her research was the contrast while they were these little tiny things. And she was like, I don't want to go through all this focus stacking, like 400 images and stacking them together. And like, this is taking too much time. They're going to be out of the phase of when I need to photograph them. And so she made an image with her phone, was what she was going to use for her research. And so we took the two images and compared them together. And there was such a large difference between the contrast, which was what she was doing research about, that her research would have been wrong. So that was a super fun way to be able to teach photography and some of those limitations of photography to someone in science.
So are you actually focus stacking in this situation? You're focus stacking the depth of these scales and things?
Yes.
Oh, cool. And using the microscope to kind of shift the focal plane forward or backward?
Yeah, up and down. It's on a rail, like an automated rail.
Yeah. This is a really interesting image, seeing it this close. Like just seeing how they almost look like little bubbles up in here.
They do look like bubbles when you get really close. There's like little mountains and craters. They're just fascinating. But I was lucky. I was in a lab that has a really large collection of iridescent beetles, and I could just go pick whatever ones I wanted to photograph.
Nice. Just go to the bug library and check out a beetle.
Check out a beetle. So I had to learn how to pin, how to collect specimen, and how to spread their wings and get them prepared. The wavelengths between us that has the butterflies pinned into it was about a 20 by 20 print, and it had about 500 real butterflies pinned into it.
Should we go back there now that we've kind of looked at these?
We can look at that. And if you go to the exhibition section, there's an image of the exhibition, and you can tell a little bit more about it. So that gives you an idea of scale. And you can see the butterflies kind of cast in shadows, so you get an idea if they're real. Yeah, it took me almost a year to spread all the butterflies and get them ready for the show. This was the curator's idea.
In what sense?
This was a show based on iridescence that was a collaboration between the professor at LSU and myself. I wasn't sure that he really understood or realized all of the artists that looked at his white paper research that inspired some of elements of what they did in their artwork. And so he had an idea for a show, and I was like, I'm pretty sure these artists, if you go look at them or reached out to them, would be really interesting and complement the show. And so the Louisiana Art and Science Museum hosted iridescence for a year. And I had 3 pieces in the show, and when we were just talking about, what do you want to have in the show? What are these people probably going to submit to the show? The curator was like, have you ever thought about filling the entire wall? And I was like, that sounds fun.
Yeah, right.
Until I'd made this piece, it's still full scale, but I did not fill a 20-foot span. So it was way less butterflies.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a lot of butterflies for a much larger one. So is that like an adhesive vinyl or something, or the prints?
Yeah, it's printed on vinyl, and it looks just like a photographic print, and it was installed in, I believe, 4 pieces.
It's pretty cool.
And then after they installed the print that has the butterfly, on her body, then I came in and pinned all the butterflies in, and my daughter actually came and helped.
Oh, that's fun. That's a nice little bonding moment.
It was super fun. And in the exhibition, actually also had some of the scientific images that I was making, the SEM and the micro images.
Should I move forward to see?
Sure.
Oh, there's a close-up.
So when I submit work to exhibitions, once they're there, I usually get some comments of surprise that they don't realize there's going to be physical pieces.
It's not just it's more than just a print.
So taking the images of, you can see the beetles even look blue. So in the very bottom corner, there were a couple of little beetles, and they look blue instead of green. And so these were the other 2 pieces that were in the show. There's a couple moths that are pinned into the dress on the first piece. And then there's jewel beetles that are flying in and out and landing in the second piece.
How hard are these to ship?
They're pretty light.
Yeah.
They're just big, but they're very lightweight. And the frames are actually based on the entomology drawer.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Look on the bottom, they have the little name in the pull.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
It was fun.
Just because I'm wondering if someone's going to ask, the butterflies, they're all, how do you collect them? And they die on their own, right?
Yes. If you keep going forward, you'll see the image. This is a collection of not just my images. There's also some of the other students that were working in the lab. This was sort of just to show off what the lab makes research about. Seeing it in a beautiful way is sometimes really inspiring to people versus just thinking, there's somebody with test tubes running science experiments, Yeah,
I love the tile formation with these.
Yeah, it was a really fun show. All the bugs die on their own.
Yeah. You're not out there just slaying butterflies.
Yeah, yeah. They don't live very long. So usually if you go to like a butterfly garden and they're flying around, that they only live a few days or a few weeks.
There's the little pull tab in the label.
Yeah. So thinking about like, how do you present work, or, how are people going to experience it and interact? I think a lot about that relating back to me just making these observations. I'm also really interested in how someone's going to experience the work that I make. How are they going to talk about it? It's really easy to have a conversation about a color and someone tell you, you're wrong. It's not that color. It's not really even a color. And someone will say, yeah, you're right. Okay. Thanks for educating me or telling me. And it's such an easy entry point to have those conversations where, the subject really isn't about blue at all. It's more like, how do you talk about religion with somebody and have them be open-minded enough to understand 2 points.
Okay.
Or different perspectives.
So it's sort of like, I believe this is blue, but, right. And then someone else says, I believe this is purple. Right. And then you kind of come together to have that conversation that maybe it's something else.
Right. And the imagery is layered. And so I think, humans are a lot like that. We dress a certain way and we drive a certain car and we present ourselves in a certain way to be perceived, right? Kind of like the bugs. We form in a certain way. But the images that I make have layers that also connect to, if you know something about the flowers or the trees, the species, or something about the particular bug that's in there, or if you have an idea, something about me, then you start collecting all those layers and the images mean something completely different. Just like getting to know somebody.
Yeah. That's really thoughtful. Oh, this is cool. So those little those are beetles on top of that. Like, so, I love that on the finger. That's fun.
This is in a art collector that lives here locally in her house. It has a magnifying glass where I popped the glass out of the magnifying glass and I put in a circular polarization filter. And so this is a really old phenomenon. It's not new, but this particular beetle, when you reverse the circular polarization, it changes color from green, like lime green, like the leaves, to the color of her hair. So like the red color.
Wow.
So I have these beetles pinned in the leaves and in her hair where they blend in, but stand out in her hair. And when you flip, and it's totally up to like the level of engagement also. Like, how much does someone want to interact with this? So there's no sign that says pick up the magnifying glass. If someone does, they may or may not have it turned a particular direction, and they may or may not flip it around. So if they do, then there's a giant shift. The beetles blend into her hair, and then they stick out on the leaves.
Oh, I wish I could see this in real life. That sounds so cool. It's in a collector's house.
Yes, it's.
Should I just stop by?
Yeah, I'll tell Pam. Heads up.
Oh, that sounds really cool, though. I can imagine that the moment of discovery, if they do figure it out, it's like, whoa,
Yeah, it's a fun reaction sometimes that people have.
These are those same beetles?
Yes. The entomology box was part of the piece. And so, just to the side of the piece, there was a entomology drawer that had different bugs in it. And this is someone that actually like picked it up and was, noticed it on the box, and then later made the relationship to the piece. So that was fun.
Is this the magnifying glass with the polarizer in it? I see it. Okay. I can see them kind of shifting to, it looks like a darker color in the background, maybe. That's cool.
Oh, the quilt. So this was, I love collaboration. collaborative projects with other people. And in the center is Frank Hamrick. He was my advisor and really a driving force in like how I approach the curiosity I have in photography. And so he is a historic process photographer. He does tintype. And this little group, we got together. This was my grad school group. And we all made a different layer of the quilt, of like the images that we make in cyanotype. So you can see my SEM images.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The all blue ones.
And it's been in a couple of museum shows, which is really neat that to see like the photograph something other than, a print on the wall, in another form. The very first image that you showed is shows the cyanotype coat I made. So if you go to historic process, you can see the coat by itself. It's the first image.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So the girl in the field has this coat on in the image, and it's silk. And as she's like, we were making all the images, it just shredded the coat. It was really fun. And so the final image that I ultimately felt like represented the whole idea and concept behind the work. You can see like the shredded silk pieces of the coat around her.
It just got frayed up from being out in the
just being active.
Yeah. Really delicate.
Like 1950s silk coat, like ladies' coat. And I used the wings that I previously had attached on her body to expose for the coat.
So when you're exposing, that's the light going through the wings that's making the shapes.
Right.
I don't know if I realized how translucent they were, like in terms of how much light could actually make it through them. Because you can see all the structure and everything.
The butterfly wings are like your scalp, and they have scales. And so like when you see butterflies flying around and it looks like glitter, those are their scales coming out, like you lose your hair.
And do you ever show this print like this, or is it just this was the thing that was used to make the other image?
I've not shown this. I have been asked if I wanted to show the clothing with prints because the clothing is important. And I have not done that yet, but it is interesting to me. An interesting idea to show like the actual physical clothing in relationship to the images.
It'd be kind of cool to see it on like a mannequin or something.
Yes, I think it would be pretty cool. One of the images has it's a 100-year-old wedding dress, and she's going through cockaburros.
I don't know what that is.
So if you go back to the order of things.
Sure. Yeah.
And scroll down a little bit. So the orange images, the one all the way to the right, is and in the close-up of her leg, that's the wedding dress.
Oh, to the right. Okay.
So that's the wedding dress.
Oh, okay.
So cockaburros are how Velcro was invented.
Oh, okay. It's like a burr or something like that?
Yes, and they're really poisonous.
Oh.
They're super poisonous. If like livestock or animals that eat them, it'll kill them.
Okay.
But it's like Velcro. So if you go back one image this way, I think, there you go. That's the dress.
Okay.
And in making this, my mom has Alzheimer's, and family conversation's tough enough as it is. But while I was making this, she was in a phase of like, I would have to tell my kids, we're going to Mimi's, don't talk about politics or religion at all. Like not even the little bit that you could do. And because it was just so confusing for her, and she would want to talk about it. And so it was like, I thought a lot about the difficult ways that we navigate conversation in different areas of our lives. those struggles are real and relatable, I think, to most people.
Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah. Like, what can you say, and how do you move around those conversations without having more conflict?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things I really appreciate about your work is, they're really beautiful images, but it looks like, I can see traces of your commercial past in terms of the way you use lighting. There's a lot of artists that don't utilize additional lighting. And I can see there's a very clean, professional, aesthetic that very much feels like it has ties to the commercial realm.
Sure. Trying to figure out the aesthetic, like, what does this work look like? Love lighting. I love learning more about it, how it works, and how to transform it and manipulate it. And before I ever started making this series, like, I was just fascinated by it. I think that's what drew me to photography, is the amount of manipulation that happens, just lens choice even,
Mm-hmm.
But I love lighting. There are very few images I make that don't incorporate strobe in some way. Do you want to go look at some of the commercial work?
Oh yeah, we could do that. I was just noticing here, like, there's clearly, like, the way the light's happening in the hair or on the body, it's not like it can't be coming from all those directions at once otherwise,
Right. And I just use one light.
Okay.
The majority of what I photograph is one simple light. I rarely use modifiers.
Okay.
So just a reflector around the bulb.
Yeah.
Very simple. It's usually just me and my daughter that are doing this. Sometimes my husband will come and help with the lighting, and he's usually like, got it up 15 feet in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've had friends hold lights pretty high or pretend to be the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about as a family.
Remember that time you had us?
Yeah, one image in a tree that's 1,800 years old. It's like the oldest cypress tree in the world, and she's almost new, but not
Was
quite.
that this year?
So I don't have it on my website.
Oh, okay.
I don't have all the images that I show up. I'm not sure why I do that. I wonder if it goes back to, like, keeping something for myself.
Sure.
But it is a similar tree. So
Okay.
that is a cypress tree. But the one I'm referencing it's iconic. People go there, like, on a journey to go make a photograph with the tree. And she's actually in the tree, like, climbed up in it. So my husband had to help her get out of the tree.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could take a look at the commercial work. Where would you like me to go?
I guess maybe start with just the top section. I don't have a lot of commercial work on my website. This is sort of a general overview.
Okay.
I have a couple of passion projects that I do every year, and the food images are one of those. Do you know what slow foods is?
No.
Slow foods is like a national movement. It's the opposite of fast food.
Oh, okay.
And Slow Foods North Louisiana happens in Shreveport. And I have photographed it. They do this event called Fete on the Farm. And I've photographed it every year that they've had the event. So it was cool. This past year was the 10th year. And we went back and looked at all the years that I photographed. It's the event happens at a farm here locally, a self-sustaining protein farm called Mahaffey Farm. And I photographed the family whenever I do this event every year, and photograph the chefs. Different chefs get invited. And so I was like, I don't really post these pictures, but I feel like it's so part of me that I wanted to put a couple up there. So just have a few from this past year's FET. But I really feel like, having a couple of things that you do in the community that connects you to your community is really, really important as a creative maker.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is one of mine.
Oh, it looks really good.
This is a new company that's a biscuit company. I met the owner through photographing this many, many years. He worked at the restaurant. He's like the best bartender ever. And him and his wife started a biscuit company here that is so good. And this is what they brought. They made the sherbet. They made ice cream and with the biscuit crumbles. It was just so good.
Oh, yeah.
Insane. I just love I love being in a community and doing things within the community and showing like other creative people that are around me, that I end up doing lots of stuff. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got everything, and you got products, you got pets, you've got musicians.
This right here is something I haven't done this in a couple of years, but when my kids were in high school, my son was in band, and the marching band in particular, I had to learn so much about it. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, y'all come up with a theme and all the songs like tell a story. And when you're at a football game, no one knows that. I was like, what if we make images that relate to your story of all the marching band? And so I did this every year, the whole time my kid was in marching band. And a couple of years after. So it just, the students loved it. And I think it helped connect the community to some of the, like all the work that went into the planning and the idea behind the story of the music marching band was playing at the football game.
I mean, the set for this is really beautiful.
So the set is one of my friends. His name is Hunter Leone. And he is like an international photographer. He does workshops here in Shreveport, and people come from all over the world to attend them. If you've ever seen the little girl meme where she's holding the crown and it's black and white, she's looking up, holding a crown on her head, that's his photograph.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's just a really cool dude. And they had this theme of like speakeasy, kind of Louisiana. And I knew this is his apartment. It isn't even a set. This is just where he lived at the time.
Oh, wow.
And my daughter would go model and he would have workshops. And I was like, hey, can I bring the entire Benton band? He was like, sure. And that's the band director, Evan. He was always just like really open. He was like, sure, whatever you want to do, J-Rob. Like, great. The craziest one is the circus. They did a circus one.
Right here?
Yes. So all the parents got involved and they researched like characters from like historic circus type characters. And so they picked out different ones they were, and they all dressed up and they showed up. We did this at a local art council. And the background, they were like, how are we going to make this look circus? And I shoot for a helicopter company, and they have these giant, enormous American flags that fly on their flagpole. And I was like, I bet we can use this flag, like hang it up from the ceiling, and y'all just kind of be in front of it. And so that's what we ended up doing the stripes look like a tent.
It does. Yeah, it totally looks like a tent.
Mm-hmm.
I did a circus shoot with a bunch of students once, and we used like the dollar store tablecloths, different colors taped together, and out of focus, they looked very much like a tent too.
Yeah. Yeah. This was
that's really smart though. The flag. That's a huge flag.
It's massive, massive, massive. The helicopter company is in the building was the Solo Cup company.
Oh, okay.
Like
Red
red
Cup.
solid.
Yeah.
It's just this huge
Plastic version of this.
yeah, huge building. And they have this giant flag that flies off the top. But these were fun. All of the kids got involved in, what it was going to look like. And he was like, whoa, what if, all the cards go in the air? It was really fun to see them get creative and participate.
How many kids are we talking about? Like, how many kids are you bringing over there at once?
Like 30.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah, maybe more. It varies every year, or it did. One year they did zombie, and they all dressed up like zombies.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Yeah, most of these people are, they're my kids' age, so they're like in their 30s now.
I mean, these look like fun memories to look back on, though.
Yeah, yeah.
What is this here?
So there are a lot of fashion designers here, and there's been a few like organized fashion show competition kind of things. And one of the organizers had reached out a couple of times for me to go photograph different elements of it. And this one in particular became a magazine cover, and it's the title of it was Shreve Punk. So like steampunk in Shreveport.
Yeah.
We went in this really cool building that's like a person's house. They bought a building and were renovating it into a home, and we set smoke bombs off. So it was really fun. Shoot, and all the designers were so good about helping with color and contrast. And, it's the closest I've come to like fashion photography, getting to do that. I've shoot for a couple magazines. This was an editorial spread that was like holiday themed, and they let us do the shoot in a historic building. So this is the Strand Auditorium. It's a really beautiful historic theater building here in Shreveport, and that was really neat to get to stand, in those places of where incredible artists have stood.
Yeah. What is this? What are these structures behind?
So in theater, when you pull a rope, sets move.
Okay. So that's that's the system for that.
That's the system. So backstage, that's what that looks like. We have two historic buildings here that have really incredible stages. One of them's the Municipal Auditorium, where Elvis Presley played.
Okay.
And I've gotten to make photographs there almost every year for an event, and the backstage looks very similar. It's just all the pulley system, and seeing the amount of production work that goes in is just wild. It takes so many people to do that, and it's incredible.
Is this also that same space?
Mm-hmm. The Strand. It's just, how can I could be the worst photographer in the world, and make a photograph in there, and it's going to be beautiful. This was a campaign for the Louisiana Tourism Bureau.
Oh.
Soulful was their take. And so these are all musicians, and we made photographs in different locations around town. This one's in front of a mural that's downtown. And so people would recognize, like, try to guess the different places or recognize the different places that we made images. It was fun.
Yeah, those are fun.
And that was one of the musicians.
Very cool.
Do you want to look at the helicopters?
Yeah, let's go look at some helicopters. Is that here to there?
Yes. And there's just a few. They're a little particular about images that I can post. And so there's just a few on here. But this company is so cool. I tell this is the story I tell every class I have, is how I ended up doing this.
Okay, I'm ready.
So once upon a time, I shot a bunch of weddings, and I still do. I still photograph weddings from time to time, if I can. But I was like hustling. My kids did all kinds of crazy stuff I needed to work as much as possible. And I was photographing a wedding, and nobody was having fun at the wedding. And they had this incredible band that was just like amazing. And they brought all these lights. And I think it's just that awkward period where the guests aren't getting into it yet. And so I was like, they have these cool lights. I'm going to make some cool photos. And so I took some really neat off-camera flash images of the band playing, and I got the drummer, dragging the shutter a little bit with the sticks and these really cool lights. And after the wedding, he sent me a message and he was like, hey, could I buy one of those images? And I was like, no, I'll just send it to you. Like, y'all were great. So I sent him the photograph of him playing drums. And a couple of days later, he sent an email and he said, hey, could you come make some photos at my company? And so Metro Aviation is the company. And I've worked for them, depending on, what's going on in my life, sometimes more, sometimes less, for 17 years.
Oh, I think it just goes to show, like, you just never know. Like, you give somebody a photo and it could turn into, a repeat client.
I tell my students all the time, like, there's these little micro connections that happen, and it is really impossible to know, like, what you're going to gain from it. That's a lesson I learned from Frank.
Shout out to Frank.
Yeah, we would be doing something crazy like making paper, and it's like, how does making paper relate to photography? Like, I don't get it. That's not anything I ever said, but it would be similar in the vein of something I said. And it's like, yeah, you don't know, but making paper has done so many things for me. I've made food for these really crazy music venues using the paper making skills that I gained. And then I've met really crazy people that have changed my life in other ways that came from that interaction. And so it's like, you never know where things are going to come from. You just need to be open and curious about all things.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. So in this situation here, you're in another helicopter, photographing a helicopter?
Yeah. So I had no idea this existed, but maybe a month ago, one of my students in class said, hey, Miss Jennifer, I Googled you. And I was like, yeah, what'd you find? And he was like, I found a video of you in a helicopter.
Okay. So everybody that's watching, go and Google Jennifer and helicopter.
It was the first time the owner got so tickled of what it was going to feel like. I was like, what is this going to feel like? I'm a little bit obsessive. I obsessed over what is it going to feel like? What am I going to experience? Because the one I'm in has no doors on it. And they actually brought in a professional aerial photographer to teach me how to do air to air. And I thought that was so cool that they cared so much about working with me that they brought someone in to teach me the thing for them. And that's sort of my takeaway for students. Sometimes I'm like, you don't have to know everything. You just need to be a nice person and make people enjoy being around you.
Yeah, being a nice person goes a long ways.
Yeah. So it was really cool. I got to learn, I use this to teach shutter speed and why would you want to be in shutter priority? And so this is really an art of the two pilots being in sync with each other, where the motion really is coming from the rotors. So that's they want it to look like that. They want to see the blur so it doesn't look like it's frozen and falling out of the air.
Right. Or that it doesn't have any propellers or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a cool experience. And I use this to talk about painting with light. Helicopters are big. And it's really expensive to move them around. You got to have a bunch of people to do kind of everything around them. So this is just sitting in a hangar with probably, 40 other helicopters and equipment where they're building them. So there's stuff all around it. And it's compositing and painting with light. So strobe, and then taking different images with the strobe so I could get it black in the background because I only had one light.
So in this situation, you're kind of popping the strobe this direction and then this one, and then in post, you're blending them all together.
Right.
How many different exposures are we looking at?
Inside, front, side, back, probably 5.
And then there's all kinds of other helicopters in the background. But
Oh yeah,
it's full of stuff.
It is full. They build air ambulances and like the state trooper, they build private helicopters, but it's mostly like medical. One of the, I don't know if I think he's an owner maybe. Milton, he's an engineer, and in Metro they have I take my students every year. I teach a commercial class and I take them so they can see it. Each area, like if they need something, they fabricate it themselves there. So there's like 3D modelers that work there, and they're using CNC machines, and there's someone painting in all these areas all around the company. Like it's self-sufficient. And so when there's a problem, there's someone there designing, making, and implementing the solution. And then the solution is available to other companies. So like South Korea, people are shorter and they had to adapt the helicopter to them. And so they created like all these solutions for the different equipment of getting a stretcher in and out of the helicopter that like, it was just incredible. It's such a cool company. I've learned so much just being around them and listening to people talk.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. So we've looked at bugs and musicians and food and helicopters. Just going back earlier, is there anything you don't do? Is there anything?
I don't know. Just so curious. The most recent thing I've done was built a dollhouse and put a photograph on my dollhouse.
Is that here?
If you go to exhibition, there's a couple of images in there.
In here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's my dollhouse. The blue background.
Blue background, this?
It's really hard to explain visually. Like there was no real good way to make a photograph. This was the Ross Lynn Foundation does an artist interchange every year. It's happening right now. And it's probably one of the coolest things. Just like trying something new where you don't know who you're going to work with. I submitted to do this interchange, and they pair 8 artists together and you work with one every week. And then after you do that, then you spend the rest of the time making an exhibition piece. And so I was paired with the guy that's standing, you see next to me. His name's Clifton Hacker. Mm-hmm. And he's a neuroscientist researching Alzheimer's. And we got paired together. And this is the piece we made it's about perception. He's very much about that with his research. The 2 center images are sheer fabric that hung from the ceiling that's like life size. And they were back to back. And then my dollhouse was on one side of the gallery, and then he made the painting and it hung on the opposite.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it was like how we present ourselves or see ourselves versus how, how we feel on the inside. And he was like, what are you gonna make? Are you just gonna do a photograph? And I was like, well, I'm gonna try to do something that's more like painterly or painting. And it turned into a dollhouse. If you go to another image.
Oh, he is super funny.
We're still friends. He's funny. So we made
like paper dolls.
Yeah, we made paper dolls.
Okay.
That's actually a card that has like, my students see me one way, and that's how I dress and go to school. And then I, have my person that's out in entertaining land, and then I have my work, photography, and then, my personal. And he's very much like that too, working in the lab. And then he also paints and academic,
I like the Tick Tick Boom and the TCB. The titles are really fun.
Thanks. This was a really fun project.
Is this part of that?
No, this is
Oh,
different. If you go the other way, you can see the dollhouse actually open though.
oh, I see part of it there. Yeah.
So
Oh, is this it here?
yes,
So
it's
when you were calling it a doll house, I don't think I realized it was a doll that was a doll house.
it's a
I
house.
see. It's a house that's a doll.
Yes. So the dollhouse opens and it has an elevator in it. So you can crank the elevator and go up 2 floors, and then it'll go up through my neck, and the crank's right here on my neck, and my head opens.
That's fun.
It was
Wait,
really.
so wait, where's the crank at? I'm looking. I'm trying to.
It's in my neck. You
You
probably
probably
see
can't
it.
see it from this angle.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Is that what that is? This.
Yeah, it was so hard to try to like explain like how do you see these things. So the man is looking at my actual photo.
Uh-huh.
He's having to look through it goes through to
Yeah.
to his painting. And so if you're standing on the other side, you're looking through.
Yeah, I can see you kind of coming through the background there, through the sheer fabric.
Yeah. So this is usually in my office. And I brought it home, and it was in my daughter's room. She came home for something, and it scared her. It was jarring. She was like, I did not expect to see you in my room.
Mom.
Yeah. And so it's kind of fun to put in my office, and people have walked by and thought I was in my office, even though
Oh, that's funny.
it looks like me. Exactly. But,
They're like, oh, hey, Jennifer. Oh, never mind.
yeah.
Talking to the dollhouse again.
Yeah. It was fun. And I got to make all the stuff in it. And so all the little miniatures, I made most of them. And it's a really fun project. I've enjoyed it so much that I think I'm going to like keep making this type of work in some way. I'm really interested in the idea of like miniatures and big versus little.
Am I seeing butterfly wings in one of the rooms there?
There are.
Okay.
There's a lot that just references back to just my life. So the 2 bottom floors are conceptual. They look like real rooms. Like one looks like an office, one looks like a bar. But all the stuff in them is so bizarre. Like the bottles in the bar, the labels on them, they're not alcohol labels. They're like fear or anxiety. And then there's a fire hydrant that's like a bad vibe extinguisher. So they're more like,
Wow.
How you separate work and personal. Like, I don't know. I just got through watching Severance, and I'm like, yes, that. And then if you go up a level, it's the same concepts, but just more abstracted.
Okay.
And there's a brick wall, like an actual like teeny tiny bricks that are separating those spaces. It was fun to make.
Yeah, I can imagine. I love the little clouds coming off the wall too.
Yeah.
Fun.
I'm thinking this needs to be outside my office, and the clouds need to be like things that I want people to think about. I'll write in my little clouds every day. Like fortune cookies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's fun. Well, we are just a little over an hour, so I'm going to take us out here real quick. And as we come to a close, one of the things I like to ask the guests are, is there any advice that you would give to up and coming photographers that are maybe starting now and they're looking to find their way? Anything that you can think of? Yeah,
there's a few things that I kind of are general takeaways that I try to give all of my students, when I say students, they range from 16 to 80. Mm-hmm. Is just be open to opportunity. There are a lot of things that I was like, I don't think of myself as a wedding photographer, but yeah, I'm a wedding photographer. Or I don't think of myself as an artist, but yeah, I am. All of us struggle with those things, and just be okay in your skin and accept whatever opportunities come your way, because you don't know where that's going to lead you next.
That's great advice. So is there how would you like people to follow your work in the future? Any way, just as website or Instagram or anything like that?
I'm really trying to focus on my website. I've recently changed it a little bit, and I'm trying to make the journal something that's more like assignments that I give aren't just assignments. They're like, how do you work on work, right? What is the photography that you're doing? Like, what are new ways that you can do that? So I'm trying to focus on doing some things like that. Instagram, I'm trying so hard to post. Social media is a rough place to go sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, we got to see so many different types of things, and it's all very thought provoking. And I just really enjoy talking to you about your work. So
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is so valuable and super cool.
Oh.
I hope all the photographers that want to make things get to meet you or interact with you in some way, because it just had such a profound impact on me getting to meet you and listening to what you do in your classroom. Like, it's just amazing. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. You're going to make me cry.
You're a new person.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for episode 11, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Jennifer. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. It helps us connect with more photography lovers just like you.